All right, welcome. It's Wednesday to another episode of Inside Gateway. I believe it's episode 27, which is very exciting. Hard to believe. We've been doing it most of the year. And we're blessed to have Jesse and Karla Zimmerman. And what house are we sitting in, Ren?
Gateway Woods.
Okay, well, we're at Gateway Woods, but what is the name of this house?
Cypress House.
Cypress House. Yes. I used to live here. Do you remember that? You don't? I think you probably do.
There's Jude here.
Jude, okay. Well, Jude's pretty cool. So, all right. So, Ren,
What?
we'll start with you. A couple questions. How old are you?
4.
4. Okay. And what's your favorite thing?
The rainbow.
You love rainbows? Rainbows are pretty colors, aren't they? Why do we have rainbows? Do you know that?
Because it rains and then rainbows come.
And it's a promise from who?
Jesus.
Yeah. Cool. Hi, Niall. How old are you, Niall? 2. Ooh.
He's about to turn 3, though.
Okay. When's your birthday? You don't know?
On the 17th.
17th. Wow. Happy early birthday. Okay. So, Jesse and Karla, how long have you been here at Gateway Woods?
3 years and 5 months.
So
Okay.
3.5 years.
So about 3.5.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, rewinding a little bit, what was your first exposure to Gateway Woods?
Honestly, I didn't really know that much about it. We got an email from the rep that just asked us to pray and consider coming. So we started praying and felt like we should move forward. So we came for a visit to make sure we knew what we were praying about. So
That's always good.
yeah. So that was my first exposure to it. So I'd never been to an auction or
Okay.
anything or been out to visit. So,
But you're related to Joy, right?
Yeah.
Joy Huber, and they were Houseparents
Yeah.
at the time.
so I mean, I knew they were house parents, but I didn't really know what that meant
Okay.
necessarily or what it entailed. So we actually stayed with them when we came out
Okay.
and they showed us around.
So you're praying, you come out, you get a little bit of exposure. How did that change your perspective or kind of amplify the process?
Okay, go ahead.
I can speak to this.
Yeah.
When we were praying about it initially, we were in the adoption process with Ren.
Okay.
Or before we even knew about Ren, we were just in the adoption process. And so when we came out to visit, we didn't really know what it would look like as far as like if we would have to start our whole adoption process over, and like we found out we would have to, but we could still adopt while we were here. We would just have to start over.
Okay.
And we were already awaiting family in Illinois. So that was kind of like my biggest concern. And then, but as far as like being here and talking to Joy and Jason, it seemed really interesting and like something that we were definitely open to. But as far as timing, we didn't really know because we were in the middle of an adoption
Right.
that was based in Illinois. So we actually got kind of like connected with Ren's birth mom the day that we were here visiting, which was kind of our sign from God that we needed to focus on our adoption at that time. But he never really took away that interest and like, yeah, just maybe Gateway would be for our future. So
Very good.
then we adopted Ren.
All right. What do you think about that, Ren?
Cool.
Cool. Yeah, I think so too. I think Jude does too. So what were you guys doing back in Illinois for a job?
We had a farm, or my family farms.
Okay.
So I was working on the family farm.
So coming from farming and into residential or house parenting, big shift or was that a smooth transition?
It was a big shift of occupation, but it was a smooth transition. I think this actually fits my personality really well.
I'm so thirsty.
At home, we mentored some couples, and I like to work with people. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know how much I like to work with people until I got into it. So it wasn't hard. So
Good. How about you, Karla?
like when we started praying about coming to Gateway again when Ren was like a month old. And then we moved when she was 9 months old. So
Okay.
we were just going through a lot of adjustments in general. Like life was beginning to look really different because we went from like being married to with no kids to having a child, moving away to a new community and a new church, and like, so yeah, it was a lot of change. But I think that I really loved the fact that I could have things to do and like have a job, but I could still be a mom and be with my child all day, but still do my job. So like I love to organize and do like office work and stuff like that. So I could use my skills in that area, like with what Gateway needed, and still be a mom.
Yeah.
Which, because I didn't really want to send Ren to daycare. So it was a way I could do both.
Yeah, that's what I love about house parenting, because it is a family model. It focuses on family, and it teaches family to the ones that we're working with, which is huge because a lot of these kids are coming from broken homes,
Yeah.
and the family isn't as God intended. And so it's awesome to have that as an example. And I know for me, having our little kids, it added more stress, but it obviously alleviated stress too, because it was very therapeutic for the residents as well. And I'm sure Ren and Niall do their jobs of softening the edges.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
So 3.5 years, and you've been in Cypress House the whole time?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
How has that been, kind of being alternates to leads? Explain that a little bit, the pros and cons, if you will, for both of those. For you guys specifically, obviously everybody else would see it differently.
Mm-hmm. You want me to go? Go ahead.
I think for me, I didn't really enjoy moving back and forth as alternates, and Ren did really great with it. So she just like kind of go with the flow type of girl, and so it wasn't that as much, just more like living between two different houses, like when we're on duty and when we're off duty. But also, especially coming in as new house parents, alternating was great because it gave you an opportunity to be with the kids and like, but not have that full responsibility of like being with them a lot more often, or like being as responsible for some of their treatment stuff, or like just things that have to happen, like emails and I don't even know what all, like
Sure.
being the one in charge of that, you can kind of hand that over to the lead house parents, and they're training you through that. So I think that it was great to start, but then it came to a point where I was getting weary of moving back and forth. And also, we've noticed that as leads, being with the residents more, you have more relationship
Yep.
with them, and they trust you more, and they it just goes smoother. And when you're alternates, it's more like babysitting, in the fact that they might try to manipulate you more, or maybe just don't respect your authority as much. And so I was definitely ready for that, just to be able to have that type of relationship with the residents moving to lead, which I think we have experienced that, and it's been really good. While we have more responsibility, we have that relationship too, which makes things go easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think there's definitely pros and cons of both alternating and lead. We don't have as many evenings together as a family. We have to do our family time in the morning during the school year, which is just different, but we also get to live in one place and have the relationship, which can help being like on duty time go smoother.
Yeah, very good. How about you, Jesse?
I would say that a big part is, as lead, you don't have maintenance days. And as an alternate, when you're not on duty, you're doing maintenance. And it's kind of nice for guys to be able just to go out and do yard work or something like that. And you don't have that opportunity. I mean, you still can as lead, but it's not like scheduled in. So I think that that's something that I miss as lead, just having like time where I can just go to the shop and do something alone. So that's one of the big differences for guys, I feel like.
Niall,
Yeah, because
buddy.
that is work
You
that
are
you see
doing
results like
right.
right away.
Yeah.
And it's nice to check those boxes off. You have your
Sure.
maintenance list, okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do this, this, and this, you feel very productive.
Yeah.
And that's
Sure.
good.
Yeah.
In this working with people, just in general, working with people, you don't have the results like that. You
Right.
can't check off boxes,
Yeah.
or should we?
Yeah.
So,
It can also be a stress relief just
Yeah.
to go work with things rather than people.
Right.
They don't talk back or anyway,
Yeah.
you
yeah.
can control them easier.
Bryn, what is your favorite part of being a house parent kid?
That's it's almost exactly like one of the questions that came in.
Okay.
They said, "What was Ren's favorite part about living at Gateway?"
What's your favorite part about living here?
We go off duty and I can spend time with my mommy and daddy and I own my dad.
Oh, so family time. What about your friends? Do you like playing with your friends? What's your favorite thing to do with your friends?
Jump on the trampoline with it all the way through and get wet.
Yeah, that's fun. And you're pretty good on your bike. I see that you don't have training wheels.
My Ida.
Really?
I know.
Yeah.
Not really. He's still working on learning to ride it.
Do you like to play with the
well,
residents too?
that's where our boys are, kind of all in the middle. Do we have any other questions from the field?
Oh, we have plenty of comments. We have
Okay.
people extending love. We have a Faith Moody that's extending wants to her love extended, and your neighbors said that you moved into the best neighbors ever. I don't know who could have wrote that, but and a potential future hubby for
Ty.
yeah I don't know.
Oh, yeah. For Ren.
Yeah, for Ren. Yeah, so there's a lot of comments going on back and forth here.
Okay.
Very good.
Well, I would say Ren, although she loves family time and having us to herself, she loves the interaction with the residents.
Yeah.
And she's a very social girl, and so as soon as a new person comes, she is on their lap, cuddling them, excited, asking them questions about what they like or who they are, and like just builds like an instant relationship with them, which, like you said earlier, helps soften the residents too. Both of the kids' presence just softens them.
Yeah.
I think it also helps make them feel welcome, like a part of something. Like, oh, like this little girl likes me, or like a little sister, sort of right away, so they don't have to feel like an outcast
Sure.
before they get used to it. To Gateway.
It is
So-
interesting how this culture of house parenting cultivates in our kids differently. So like Josiah was very friendly, and he would get to know, he knows no stranger.
Yeah, that's how Ren is.
Jude is kind of in the middle, but then Easton and Ellis strange terribly.
Okay.
It's like,
Yeah,
but they're not in the environment of having lots of people
Yeah.
interacting with them on a daily basis. So I've
So they
noticed
grow
that
up
big
with that.
difference.
Yeah.
It's part personality, but it's part of the,
yeah.
the culture.
What was normal
too.
for them?
Mhm. So that's good. I mean, because we all want people obviously to interact in healthy ways and
Yep.
be able to build those relationships with people that aren't necessarily her age or her parents
Yeah.
is a huge skill.
Yep.
So that's great. So we obviously are looking for house parents. Being here 3.5 years, what would be, if you rewind back to where you guys are praying, thinking about it, maybe somebody's not even thinking about it, what kind of advice would you give, I guess, to somebody in your shoes back 3.5 years ago?
I guess for me, when the email came to us about considering house parenting, it just was like we both were like, like maybe we should actually consider this. I'm not sure why. I think we're both kind of like adventure and change, and it was like this could be, you only have one life. This could be really interesting, and like it just something about it felt like we shouldn't just say no. Obviously, you have to think about like priorities, because it was common to just you want your stable family and your stable home and your stable job, so you have to be willing to give that all up for something different, and obviously you don't know what you're getting into necessarily. But it's also really exciting and new, and following God's direction is just always good. So just to experience that, wow, careful. So I don't know. I would just say it's a challenge. So if you're up for a challenge, up for something different, and obviously you're doing like heaven work.
Yeah.
So that's always fulfilling, not always easy. So
And I
Yeah.
think that God had been working in our hearts prior to even receiving that email asking us. We had never thought about Gateway, and He had never brought that to our attention before, but He had been working in our hearts just to help us like have more of that mission mindset and wanting to reach out to people and like wanting to help people, and had just been opening our eyes to more of the brokenness of the world. So I don't really know how, like, that's something that God gives people. We can't give that to people. But I think that being educated and learning about stuff, like being aware of stuff, can help you, and God can use that as a pathway to like develop interests or put like convictions on your heart as far as like maybe this is a work that He would call you to. But I think just being open and like praying about it would be my suggestion.
Yeah, very good.
I think it's easy to be just blinded to the hurt of like back, like even before we came, like we don't realize maybe what certain people are going through or how bad people's situations are unless you're willing to obviously be uncomfortable and step out into this messy situation. So I just think doing that does open your eyes and change your perspective. But it's not easy.
Yeah,
So
very good. Great advice, and I would add on to that. It's a place where your family works together, and for Beth and I, we wanted to work as a family, but it's like when, like, I mean, if you both have independent jobs, and then you come home with your kids, and then mealtime, all that stuff, it's like, how do you fit that in? And Houseparent is great because it's built in. The whole process is a ministry of, like you said, kingdom work. And you're working together. It's not easy, but it's very rewarding.
yeah,
And praise to God. So.
yeah. I always wonder. Ren has since. I mean, she was like not even one when we
She
moved
was
down
9
here.
months.
9 months, so she doesn't even know me, or she doesn't know the concept of like a dad leaving for a job. Like I'm just always home, working here. So I wonder someday how that's gonna go. And for me, it'll be hard for me too. Since we've had kids, I've almost always been able to stay home or work with my family. So it's been awesome, and it scares me to think that someday I might have to go to a job where my family can't be there. But
Yeah, I've done both, and you got to be more intentional with your time. Even in Houseparent, I mean, because you could be incredibly busy. You could be right beside them, but you're not present with it. And so give us a funny memory, something that we have bad days. So like, what keeps you going in your Houseparent? Just something that just kind of gives you joy to think about.
I think that in general, just working with the residents can be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
They're always funny, or their perspective on things can really make you laugh. I'm trying to think of like a certain situation, a story I could tell. I remember one day we were doing a fire drill, which is always brings a lot of excitement. Anyway, so we had a boy that like darted out of the house when the alarm went off, and then darted back in after we were done, and he stepped on a Lego, and he was so mad, and he's like, "Why would you have Legos out during a fire drill?" And I was just like, well, if there was really a fire, we wouldn't be picking up everything. It was just so funny, because he was just so mad that he stepped on a Lego and couldn't understand why Legos are out during a fire drill.
That's awesome.
I don't know. Do you have any other?
Yeah, I can't think of specific ones. I think just just like spending time with them and building that relationship, and then you get to, like you said, like see their perspective on things, or just their personalities. Like they can be really funny. Like teenagers are fun. While they can be annoying sometimes, teenagers are just fun, I think.
it makes us younger too, because
Yeah.
you're hanging out with kids,
Yeah.
basically half your age or whatever
Yeah.
your age, and it's like, it just brings you down to their
Yeah.
level,
Yep.
maybe maturity wise
Yeah.
sometimes, which is okay.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But-
One time we had a silly string war. I bought some silly string and just waited for a random moment, and we just went out with the silly string, the house parents, and attacked the kids, and then threw them all a can, and they started playing. And we had one boy here that hadn't been here very long and was just pretty like sullen and down that he was here, and it was like the first time that it like he just like lit up like a little child, like so excited and having so much fun, and it just like brought out his personality, and it was really cool. So yeah, there's those fun times like that, and that build relationship, and then that helps you get through the difficult times and working through the harder things that have to be dealt with. So
Very good. Anything else you guys would like to add or share?
Not really. Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay. Any other questions from the field? So,
Nope. Few
All right.
comments.
well, I've enjoyed this time, and I had the privilege of training you guys with Beth, and just seeing you guys grow as a family and as house parents. It's been awesome. So I just want to encourage you to keep going. Praise God in this process, and keep praying for more house parents to fill in the gaps that we have. We've been around 42 plus years, and that's a lot of house parents. I don't know them all. You can get your history book and look at the list, but join us next week.
We do have one last question
okay,
for
go
Ren.
ahead.
Ren, you have a question.
Hey, come over,
Come here,
Ren.
Ren.
Todd asked you a question. Todd Strom.
You know
Do
Todd?
you know Todd?
Ty's dad. He says, "Have you recovered from your fear of silly string?"
And then did a silly string, and I was standing there, and he was like, I ran into the house.
Was it
And
scary?
cried.
So yeah, I didn't mention that her reaction to our silly string war was hysteria and screaming, and the most scared I've ever seen her in her life. And it probably took her 15 to 20 minutes to calm down in her bedroom because she was so. And then when she would go outside and see the silly string on the ground, she would go into panic mode again. But I think, have you recovered from that? Are you able to be around silly string now?
We probably haven't done it since then.
I think she would do better with it. She was just confused why everyone was yelling and screaming.
And running around.
And it's been a little while, so she was quite a bit younger.
Yeah, that's great. Great question.
That's it.
All right, well, we'll see you next week. I'm not sure who we're going to have, but it'll be great. I know that. So see you next week.